Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. And we are in here to talk all kinds of Packer news. Of course, been around the studio the entire time through this whole process. Every little inkling of news that dropped, we were going live. Had a family dinner last night. As soon as we sat down to eat, boom, the news breaks. Matt LaFleur gets his contract extension. So we're going to talk about all of it this morning. Appreciate everybody jumping in. Looks like we got an awesome crew in here. Thank y'all so much for making us a part of your morning. We're going to talk to Matt LaFleur extension. We're going to talk huge front office restructure news, or lack thereof, I should say. Going to be exciting to kind of dive into how that all unfolded. Also, a quick little Brian Gutekunst evaluation. Want to get your all's take in the chat on how you feel about where Goody's at and how this roster has been constructed. And you know, did we take a step in the right direction last year? It looks like he went a little bit against the grain that he normally does. Actually, a lot against the grain that he normally does in the right direction. Just probably missed on a couple players. We'll talk about all that. And also, do we got some Jim Leonhard rumors swirling around? We're going to talk about that. I don't know if there's any smoke to that fire or not, but we're going to dive into that a little bit. Could Jim Leonhard, former Wisconsin Badger, potentially be the next defense coordinator in Green Bay? We'll kind of dive into it and see what you all think as well. Before we do, if you would, do that YouTube stuff for me. Hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. I'm going to say it again. We are not experts. We are not insiders. And we are not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you never miss out on any live stream. Don't hit the chat real quick. You guys were on fire in here this morning. I was cracking up as I was finishing my cup of coffee. And now we're on to the Sprite Zero. So Dave in the chat says, so now that the 49ers got boat race as their coach on the hot seat, just saying, isn't it funny too? I'm going to have a tweet going out, and I kind of mentioned it last night, but you guys remember last week when we were pointing out, boys, how much can we expect from this Packers team that is decimated with injuries? The response was, well, look at what the 49ers are doing. They're injured too. How'd that work out last night? I'm going to throw that meme up, the gif of the little old lady doing this. And I'm going to say, out here looking for all those people that said the Niners can win with injuries. They got their asses whipped last night. And some people are like, wow, didn't expect this. You know, guess what your boy was thinking? Yeah, you finally ran out of gas, didn't you? It's hard to win in this league with a healthy roster, much less one that gets decimated with injury. They went into the last game with George Kittle, and then obviously he gets hurt in that game, and it's just too many things to overcome. That's the National Football League, man. It happens. It's a part of it, right? I just hope those people keep that same energy toward the 49ers, you know, that we're saying last week. It's not an excuse. Again, it's not an excuse. It's a reason. That's what it is. Packer Doug says, what did we all think of the Sea Chickens making the 49ers their personal – whoa, I wish I'd have read that first. Yes, the Sea Chickens beat the 49ers. We'll leave it at that, Packer Doug. Nick McSwain says, and with contracts coming due with the Super Bowl window being what it is, we need guys who come in and play day one. We're going to talk about that in the Goody evaluation. The more I think about it, Nick, I think he tried to do that. He tried to press in a little bit last year. It just didn't work. He swung and missed. And GM swing and miss, right? And again, never was I saying I want Goody fired. Never was I saying I want Jeff Hafley fired, right? All I was simply saying was, hey, so this is all Matt LaFleur's fault. It has nothing to do with the roster, the way it's constructed. It has nothing to do with the defense giving up 25 points in the fourth quarter. It's just all Matt LaFleur. It made no sense to me. You know, it really didn't. So, and the large majority agreed with us in that regard, right? Nick McSwain, thank God they got LaFleur back. Personally wish they would have moved on from Goody, but this is good too. I don't know if I trust Goody to draft guys who can contribute year one. Most of the time it's years 2 and 3. And that typically is when you try to evaluate the draft class after their rookie year. That's the pushback you always get from the people who really, really like Goody. I'm in the middle, Nick. I don't think he should be fired. But the people that pretend like he makes no mistakes and he's just absolutely perfect, I strongly disagree with them too. Everybody can be better. Matt LaFleur can be better. That's the reality. Yeah, we point out his mistakes during the season, right? But again, I would just love to see what Matt could do with not a youngest roster in the league, just a it ain't listen, it ain't got to be the oldest. You don't want the oldest roster in the league, right? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants the oldest, but you shouldn't be the youngest either every single year. Give me a fifth youngest roster in the league. And I guarantee you some of those mental mistakes get cleaned up a bit. I really believe that. Two over this says, Dave, the 49ers fans had the same reaction we got about LaFleur. So it sounds like people were calling for Shanahan's head after that game in the 49ers base. And then, of course, 2-0 for this says, Moscato mimosas for everyone. If you know, you know, right? 2-0 for this. Appreciate that, man. All right. So let's waste no more time. Appreciate you guys, like I said, jumping in the chat. If you just got in here, hit that like button for us. Let's boost that algae, get the algorithm through the roof, spin those laces on the football emoji down there in the like button. And hopefully it's not a soccer ball this morning, so I don't have to get my blood pressure up. And we'll continue to talk Packers. Let's do it. Let's get into it. The major news obviously dropped last night while I was eating some spaghetti and meatballs because that's what the niece wanted. All right. She gets what she wants. And we had spaghetti and meatballs last night. So here it is, major news. And Adam Schefter revealed, several people revealed this. I seen an Adam Schefter tweet that came in and it kind of sparked it for me. I don't know who to give credit for it. Listen, can I be real for a second, guys? You get some people that cover the Packers in the NFL. They get pissed that you. I don't know if they get angry when you share their content, like you share their tweet or not. I don't know. First of all, let me be on the record to say this. If anyone wants to share my content, feel free to do so. I don't understand why anyone would get upset about that. But then you get into the pillow layer back and you've got, can we all agree? We've got like 10 or 12 people that cover the Packers, right? And they all tweet out the same thing because it's all the same news. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you share a tweet of someone, and I say this because I got a DM and I'm like, I can't make everybody happy. I shared a tweet of someone that broke news and another one tweeted and said, I had that first. What do you want me to do? Like, I don't have time to comb through all of Twitter and, okay, maybe I need to get AI to do it for me. Which one got the tweet out first? Why is everybody so, I need to get the credit for it. Like you're all saying the same thing. I'm in here talking about the same topics as 15 other podcasters too. It would be like me getting on here and go, they talked about what I talked about. No crap, Sherlock. It's the same news. Anyway, let's get into it. I waste enough time on it. That stuff drives me insane, man. It's like, if you're good at what you do, you're going to be successful. Period. Case closed. If you're having to reach out to people and say, oh my God, you shared their tweet and I actually had it first, probably not going to make it, Bub. Probably not going to make it. But anyway, again, we are not experts. We are not insiders. We are fans on this show. So please treat me as such. Like I'm an idiot. I just get on here and talk ball. Okay. Matt LaFleur signed to a long extension. So Rob Domofsky had tweeted this out, and I just quote tweeted it, kind of threw a little bit in there. Matt LaFleur will return as the Packers head coach per sources. He has signed to a multi-year contract extension that a source said is, quote, not a prove-it deal, but a real commitment. Now, to me, that's where the big news is, right, guys? That's where the big news is. The fact that it's reported as a big commitment, and you're going, well, how many years, how much money? I get you, man. If there's still a little hesitation, like, okay, maybe it wasn't a true commitment and they're just fluffing this up. I don't think Rob's fluffing this up at all. It's one of those things that the team doesn't release that information right off the bat, right? Usually it leaks out through the agency or what have you. We'll keep our ear to the street there. Now, when the John Harbaugh offer got leaked out, that kind of felt like that came from the team, like to get the fans off of their back a little bit. Like, listen, we offer him a ton of money, right? And he's wanting more say in the roster. And it sounds like he ended up getting that, I believe. But nonetheless, the fact that this isn't a prove-it deal means he's not a lame duck. Some people were saying, just give him a one-year extension. That's you might as well just trade him now because the team is not going to perform the same way knowing their coach is on the hot seat like that. The assistants are going to be looking for work elsewhere, and they're not going to be 100% focused. It just creates this shaky ground. They tried it with Mike McCarthy in Dallas, right? And what happened? It all fell apart. Again, it's just not – if you're not committed, if you're not showing confidence in your head coach, why the hell should the players show confidence in him? Why should they believe what he's saying if you don't have confidence in him? And if the argument is, well, they shouldn't have confidence in him, then move on and get another coach, right? It's that simple. So I don't know if there was actually smoke to the fire that was kind of not really being reported, but all the rumors that, man, they don't want to give him a long-term extension. They don't want to give him a long-term extension, right? And I'm not going to take the time to go back and see, all right, who first reported that, who put that in a tweet. I don't care. I'm not here to try to dunk on people and go, well, you actually said, who gives a rat's rear end, right? Like, let's talk about what happened and what's important moving forward, if that makes sense. So it's not a prove-it deal, but a real commitment. New deals for GM Brian Gutekunst and VP Russ Ball also in the works. All right. So all three coming back. Okay. Jordan Rodriguez. If you guys don't know who she is, she's the one who created the Play Caller podcast that we referenced on here several times before. A great, bright football mind, Jordan Rodriguez. She covers the Rams, and she done this extensive deep dive into the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. It was phenomenal. If you guys have not listened to that, go find it. The only thing I hate is that I don't think there's a video to it. It's just audio. I wish they would have filmed a video, and I know that would have taken more time, but boy. So the point is Jordan knows ball, period, case closed. Like when you hear her talk on that, you go, oh boy, she would smoke a bunch of guys' asses talking ball, right? And here's what she did. She quote tweeted Diana Rossini, who said the Packers and Matt LaFleur finalized the terms on a multi-year deal, blah, blah, blah. Jordan Rodriguez quote tweeted and said, good teams making good decisions. So obviously she approves of the hire there. Tom Pelissero put a tweet out, and you're seeing kind of some backhanded comments, I think. I don't know if it's toward the fan base or maybe toward certain people that thought this was there was a legit shot Matt may not be back. I think we all were a little bit concerned, like, okay, is there really smoke here, right? But Tom Pelissero tweeted out, there were never any serious consideration to moving on from Matt LaFleur, who just signed his deal. The Packers are also expected to extend Brian Gutekunst and EVP Russ Ball. So all that kind of being confirmed. But again, there was never any serious consideration to moving on. What does that mean, right? Now, this, again, you got to ask, where's this information come from? When it all started to kick off, and Adam Schefter, if you guys remember, said Matt LaFleur is being viewed around the league as a top 5 coach, right? What did I tell you guys? All right, that's probably coming from Matt LaFleur's agent's camp. That's them putting out in the line like, hey, don't forget, Matt could get top 5 money across the league. He would be the top head coaching candidate. He would leapfrog John Harbaugh if he was available right now. So let's don't get too cocky here, right? That came out of, I feel like, Matt LaFleur's camp, okay, out of his agent's camp through Adam Schefter. Who does Tom Pelissero work for? The NFL Network. Just like Ian Rappaport, he is an NFL employee. So what's he say? There was never any serious consideration to moving on from Matt LaFleur. That came from the team. So is that them trying to go, okay, let's put this fire out completely? We were always on board with Matt. Maybe they weren't completely on board with Matt, and that's them trying to bandage it up a little bit. Who knows? Who's to say, right? But just to kind of put some perspective on where those reports are coming from, right? And obviously he was talking about the 76-40-1 record, which is wild, making the playoffs 6 out of the last 7 seasons, right? All that. So now Tom Silverstein comes in and says Ed Policy didn't hesitate offering Coach Matt LaFleur an extension, and the negotiations to appear to have gone smoothly. And he's got an article. You guys can go check it out over at the Journal Sentinel. So what's he saying here? We've always said Tom Silverstein, really, really, really close to the team. He's covered the team forever, right? When Tom Silverstein puts a tweet out, I feel like unless he specifies this is a personal opinion, information probably coming out of 1265 most of the time, right? So he's kind of an extension. He's kind of a home base reporter that's reporting right there on site at 1265. And of course, Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero working for the league, i.e. all 32 team owners or 31 plus Russ Ball. All of these guys are saying the same thing, right? So it kind of feels like this is Ed Policy saying, hey, listen, we wanted Matt back the whole time, right? There was all this was just smoke and mirrors on the outside. As always, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, right? It always falls somewhere in the middle. What did Aaron Rodgers say? There's 3 sides to every story: your truth, my truth, and the truth, I think is what he said. I might have just had a George W. ism right there. Unbelievable. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. You fool me once, you can't fool me again, type thing. But it feels like the team, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. It feels like the team they're either trying to bandage us up a little bit, or they're going, "Hey guys, y'all were way off base. We were wanting him back the whole time anyway." And as much criticism as the reports got of seeing Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, and Ed Policy at a local cola restaurant or whatever, there in Wisconsin, it did seem like the second that dinner took place, all of a sudden this was already done, right? So I'm glad we did kind of talk about that last night. I think it did put a lot of people at ease in that regard. Now, let's talk about the huge news on the front office structure, okay? So you guys remember Rob Domofsky, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying that Rob misreported. He was reporting what he heard. He said that Ed Policy, he's hearing from several people that Ed Policy wants to go back to the old structure, okay? The old structure of the general manager being over the head coach, right? Kind of overseeing everything, running the whole operation, essentially. Now, some people said that's because Ed Policy wanted to focus on the business side, which he's had a huge hand in Titletown and some of the other revenue sources that's been generated there for the Green Bay Packers. He's a great business guy. Him and Mark Murphy done a hell of a job at that. Some say he wanted to focus on that. Others thought, well, that means that LaFleur is on shaky ground and Goody isn't, right? So if I'm reading all the tea leaves, to me, it feels like they may have explored that option. And Matt LaFleur might have been like, well, hold up. So you're going to demote me now? You're going to demote me and offer me less money? It just kind of feels like that. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe it didn't. Maybe this whole time they were just kind of looking at all the different options, and Matt LaFleur was the guy, and he could name his price. Again, when we get the information leaked out, we'll know just how much they paid him. Again, you want to show me how much you appreciate me, how much you want me, open up the checkbook, right? That's always going to tell the story. So with that being said, that's kind of how that fell into place. So I think, to me, that is the huge news, guys, is the fact that the front office structure will stay the same with everyone reporting to Ed Policy as opposed to Goody being over everyone. So essentially what you've got is Ed Policy. He's the head honcho. He has final say in everything. Underneath him, Brian Gutekunst is scouting, signing free agents, picking the free agents, I should say. He's building the roster, okay? He's got total say over the roster. He's got last say. If Matt LaFleur disagrees with him on something, Goody's got final say on the roster. Matt cannot say, no, Goody, I want this player. You have to get him. That's not how it works, okay? You've got Matt side by side with him. He makes all the football decisions, right, in terms of the team, in terms of who starts, in terms of who gets all the play into all that stuff. He has final say. Goody can give input, but Matt has final say there. Russ Ball, he handles the dollars and cents. He's the capologist, essentially, right? He's the guy who's going to construct the contracts in a way. Now, what got really, really muddied the water up with the I'm going to say his name right. I hope I say it right. Justice Mosquito's article was he was repeating some of the information he had heard that they had lowballed Darren Rizzi as a special teams coordinator in 2019. Well, if you heard Rob Domofsky come out, he said that was absolute, his words, not mine, bull poopy. Okay. He said that was absolutely not accurate at all. And then some people were coming back saying, well, they did hire from within. They didn't go outside of the building. So it actually proved to be, I don't know. I'm not getting in the middle of that. Just not getting in the middle of it. But the point being is the article and what I heard, it sounded like Russ, not necessarily the article, but everything I could comb through, Russ Ball had a big say in approving the funds, the money to pay for that special teams coordinator. If that story was true, if it wasn't, throw it out the window. But Russ Ball, he has final say in how the roster or how the contracts are structured. So I imagine if you get to a point where Goody says, I want this player, Russ Ball tries to work out a deal and he can't come to a deal, him and Goody have to make a decision together. Okay, at some point, if it gets to, no, that's too much money, we're not going to do it. I imagine Russ has total say over that, or else he doesn't have equal say in this whole thing, right? So again, I don't think the decisions truly get to that point, but I just want to make sure that the responsibility, the blame, and the credit lies where it all needs to be at, right? Whenever like right now, there's people on Twitter saying we're screwed. We can't sign anybody. We can't do anything in free agency. We're up against the cap. You look at the cap that you can free up, and you can free up a ton of money like that if you wanted to. If you think this roster is the one, then hey, you move forward and you go for the Super Bowl this year, right? I hope we add a couple pieces. Guys, we're not going to go out and break the bank. We're not going to do that. Hell, we didn't even break the bank with Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs. When you look at the structure of those contracts, we could get out of both those contracts this year and free up money if you wanted to, right? So they were essentially 2 or 3 year deals is how they sign them, right? If it's a 4-year deal, it's either a 2 or a 3 truly. If it's a 3-year deal, sometimes it's just a 1-year deal. Like in Aaron Banks's case, you could cut him and free up $4 million this year. You can actually do a post-June cut and free up significantly more. So with all that, like I said, kind of laid out, Russ Ball has the final say in the contracts. Goody has the final say in the players on the roster. And then Matt LaFleur has the final say in who plays, how they're deployed, and whatnot, right? That's how that's going to come into play. So if we look up and go, boy, we missed on Aaron Banks, we missed on so because I had somebody yesterday. It was Mike, Superfan Mike was tweeting, and we're going to get into it with the Brian Gutekunst segment here in a second. We're going to dive into Brian Gutekunst and how he constructed the roster and everything. He was like, well, who's to say that Matt LaFleur didn't want the youngest roster? Look, we can agree to disagree. There's not a head coach in the NFL that is going for a run at the playoffs. If you're a bottom 5 team, absolutely. There could be a cases that a coach goes, hey, look, why don't you get me just everybody, get me the youngest roster in here. Let me evaluate that talent. And then next year we'll reshuffle and add some veterans. That could happen. No one's going to be able to convince me that it was Matt LaFleur's idea to have the youngest roster. Okay. Think about that. Coach, which would you rather have? Would you rather have a few more veterans with playoff experience going into the playoffs? Or would you rather have the youngest roster and guys that the reason that we couldn't get Matthew Golden as involved is because it's common knowledge now based off of Jordan Love's comments earlier in the year and how they deployed him. We watched the tape. We watched him run routes into other receivers at times. We watched him break it off at the wrong depth. That's rookie. That's going to happen with rookies. Would you rather have more of those guys on the roster? Huge high upside, but might not see it for year 2 or year 3. Right? I think we all know what the answer would be, but we'll get into that with the Goody segment. For those of you listening to this show or watching this show back later on the Matt LaFleur extension and the change in the structure in the front office, let us know in the comments what you think. How do you feel about it? Are you glad they stayed with the structure? Are you glad with the Matt LaFleur extension? It sounds like it's going to be at least a 3 or a 4-year extension. Only time will tell. I'd be very, very surprised if it's only a 2-year extension plus the one that he's already got, making it a 3. So a 3-year extension will be a 4-year deal, essentially. The 2-year extension will be a 3-year deal, including this year on the contract. Let us know what you think about that. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you know when we go live here in the future. All right. Nick McSwain in the chat real quick says, Clayton, people are saying LaFleur is in charge of finding the kicker. LOL, people are just making stuff up to get mad. It's so true. Like, again, now, does he have some say in it? Probably, right? Like, I hope Goody would go to him and go, hey, Matt, I'm eyeing this kicker right here. Do you want to take a look at the tape and see what you think there? Now, maybe Matt will go, all right, send it over to Rich. Let's get it approved. Boy, I just pissed some people off saying that, right? But maybe that's how they operate or whatever. But this idea that Matt's the one going, Goody, nope, no. I want that kicker. Not going to take anybody. That's not how it works. Again, we talked about the structure. Now, if the structure had changed, things would be a lot different too. Now you're going, man, Goody is now LaFleur's boss if it had changed. Again, if it had changed. And he can actually come in and go, hey, I want this player starting over that player, Matt. That's when you get into some real, like, imagine as a coach, you've been grinding all night long, the tape, getting ready for the next opponent. And then the general manager just walks in and goes, Jerry Jones style. Jerry Jones walks in and goes, hey, bub, I want him playing over him, and I ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Like, that's crazy talk. I don't know how anything can, I don't know how anything can operate like that, to be honest with you. So, all right, let's get into the Brian Gutekunst talk. So, obviously, you guys know front office is looking to extend Brian Gutekunst as well. Huge front office news plus Goody has to add veterans. So I'm going to give my take. Again, I want to make sure that everybody is very clear here, or everybody understands that I'm very clear here. I'm a fan. This is my take. If you disagree, I'm not trying to say I'm right and you're wrong. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm just giving you, this is how I look at the roster and how, if I was the general manager, this is how I would be thinking about it, okay? And we're going to do it kind of through the eyes of Brian Gutekunst. And as I sat down and thought about everything and really dove into it, I kind of came to the conclusion that, you know what? It feels like Goody was trying to do what I want as a fan, right? and he just swung and missed on a couple guys. And I'll explain that here in a minute. But I want to talk about how we got to this point, okay? So, huge news is the Packers front office structure will stay the same, with everyone reporting to Ed Policy as opposed to Goody being over everyone. That was the Tom Silverstein reporting there. As he said, the front office structure is staying the same, according to someone familiar with the talks with Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst. LaFleur, Gutekunst, and Russ Ball all still report to the president, as has been the case since 2018. That's when Mark Murphy made that change when they promoted Brian Gutekunst to general manager, obviously with Ted getting sick and moving on from Ted Thompson to Brian Gutekunst. So that's just kind of the foundation for what we're going to talk about here. Okay. That is the latest coming out of there. All right. He says, I forgot to mention that cap guru Russ Ball is expected to sign a contract extension as well. Everyone keeps his current position. So again, we kind of talked about it. Everything's already laid out. If you guys want to hear the backside of the Matt LaFleur conversation, I'll attach a video to this one. At the end of this one, you can go back and watch that segment on Matt LaFleur as well. We're trying to get better at that, to giving you guys options where you can watch shorter videos, get the information you want without, sitting here for an entire show like the OGs are doing in here. All right, next tweet. The Gutekunst deal is not completed, but it is close. There is no concern that this deal won't get done. Packers won't announce until both deals are signed. So again, until they get the Goody contract done, they're not going to announce the Matt LaFleur contract. But this was kind of surprising. It sounds like they are going to announce it. And last time they didn't do that with the extension. We just kind of found out, on the cuff. So it sounds like there may be an announcement there. Is one thing I take away from that. But I think it's funny. It's like Tom Silverstein has talked to the team, and the team's going, hey, would you please let everybody know there is zero concern that Brian Gutekunst is going to get extended, so we don't go down this road again, because things did get pretty heated. And social media got loud. And in every poll question we took, it was like 80% of the fans wanted LaFleur back. And it's like, boy, that's a loud 20%. I mean, that is a loud 20%. It's just wild how everything unfolded. So, again, no concern that the deal won't get done. That's their way of saying, the team putting out through Tom Silverstein, Goody's getting a deal. Don't worry about it. He will be your general manager. Okay. Now, I jumped into a little breakdown before we went to dinner last night, and I tweeted this out. And I want to get everybody's take on it in the chat. Let me know in the comments whether you're watching this live or you're watching it back later. Let us know in the comments. Am I off base here? Got a couple tweets I want to read to you. For the third year in a row, Matt LaFleur was given the youngest team in the league. And people go, well, that's not an excuse. Okay, gotcha, cool. Of the remaining 8 playoff teams, here is where they rank in age this season, youngest to oldest. Now, again, I tried to grab 3 sources, so I'm pretty sure this is accurate. If you guys find this information to be inaccurate, please let me know in the comments, okay, and we'll change it. So, youngest to oldest, all right, the Broncos were the 11th youngest team. They played yesterday. Obviously, they won. Bo Nix breaking his ankle in that game, and he is out for the rest of the playoffs. Is just devastating. Bo Nix is a player, boys. He is a player. Broncos have the 11th youngest team in the league. Patriots, 14th youngest. Rams, 15th youngest. 49ers, 16th youngest. Bears, 17th. Bills, 18th. Texans, 21st. Seahawks, 23rd. All right? So, again, what's the point here? We have the youngest roster in the league. I'm not saying we need the oldest roster in the league. Hell, I'm not even saying we need to be in the 15 spot. But can we just get closer to 5th? Can we just get somewhere around the 5th youngest roster in the league? And the reason being is you don't have anybody that's remaining in the playoffs going into last night with 10th or youngest roster in the league. So we can sit here and say it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. But the reality is those are the teams that made it to the second round of the playoffs. That right there. So, again, it's not an excuse. I think it's part of the reason. Well, why did they lose, right? Well, Clayton, did you not see the collapse? Look at the collapse. Okay. What do you think that's more indicative of? The biggest stage, the most important point of the season, right? The most important point of the season in the playoffs, and they crapped the bed in the second half. That sounds like an inexperienced, non-clutch team, right? Now, look at Jordan Love. Jordan Love finished the day with 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, was on freaking fire. I don't care what anybody says. You go back and watch the tape. Matt LaFleur was in his damn bag. If anything, he was too aggressive in the second half, threw the ball 10 times, only ran it 4 on the first 4 drives of the second half. Too aggressive, should have leaned in the run. That's my criticism of Matt right there. But the people that are saying he's not aggressive enough, that's just simply not true. It's totally the opposite. But when you get into those big limelight moments in the playoffs, you want guys who have been there. You want guys who have as much experience as possible. And the blanket casual argument to this is typically, well, these guys have got experience. They're young, but they've got experience. What kind of experience? How many of these guys on this team have played in the Super Bowl? Somebody remind me. None of them, right? To the best of my knowledge. I mean, think about it. Well, we had one guy in camp, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. You guys remember McCole Hardman? That was the reason we wanted him, but we were excited. Hey, we got a guy who's got some Super Bowl experience. He caught the game-winning catch in the Super Bowl. What did we do, Jacob?
Cut him.
So it's like we went younger, right? Christian Watson's dad was pissed about that. So now, again, Mike on Twitter said maybe Matt LaFleur wants the youngest roster, right? Have you ever thought about that? And I asked him back, like, so I want to make sure I understand you correctly. Are you saying that, and this is Mike Hebring, I know we got like 17 different mics. Mike Hebring asked that, and I said, are you saying, I want to make sure I understand you correctly, are you saying Matt LaFleur wants to have the youngest roster in the league, the most inexperienced roster in the league? And I don't think I got an answer from him, but so I was like, okay, Jacob, you know how this rolls. Maybe I'm off base. I'm an idiot. So maybe sometimes I've got in my mind, this is how we all think, this is how the majority thinks, and I'm completely off base. So I love throwing the poll question up, right? Not that kind of poll, Jacob. We threw a poll question up, okay? So I said, Packer fans, would you rather Brian Gutekunst construct the youngest roster for a fourth straight year or field a more veteran team? 80% of the fan base said more veterans. So I'm going to ask you, Jacob, do you think if you were Matt LaFleur and you got to choose, and be honest, maybe you want youth, I don't know, would you want the youngest roster or would you want more veterans on your team to make a playoff push?
Well, what I would say is, sorry if I sound, I literally just woke up, so saw the text, literally ran out of bed. I like the idea of having a younger team in theory, but when it comes down to when the road meets the when the tire meets the road kind of thing, you got to have a few guys that have been there, like you said. I would definitely think that, having a guy like Nicole, I think would have been massive. Like, just to have somebody that's been there, that understands the situational kind of progress that it takes to have that type of team. I would definitely want to have more veterans. I would definitely want to have somebody that's absolutely, been there, seen what happens, understand the fact that, like, I'll never forget, I text Clay about when, I think it was after we missed that second kick, and I said, the momentum's shifting. I don't understand it. Clay was like, tell me specifically, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know how to define it specifically. It just feels like that something's happening right now. And I think it's because they were so young that nobody was there, like, grabbing these young guys by the freaking, whatever you want to say, and being like, shape up, like, we're about to lose this game. Like, and I just feel like there was no leadership that was in that locker room that said, hey guys, like, we're about to let this game slide. And I can't specifically, again, say exactly what it was and what that feeling was, but it happened. And then when we watched it just slip away for the second time in 4 weeks, we just watched it absolutely go down the drain. And I really do feel like that there was a little more veteran leadership in that locker room. If they would have said, somebody would have came up and been like, stop this. We got to stop this right now. We got to nip it in the bud. We have to stop whatever is happening right now, this slide. And I do feel from the bottom of my heart that something would have actually changed differently if we had some more veteran leadership. That's what I feel like.
I don't know if it would have changed, Jacob, but it damn sure wouldn't have hurt. You know what I mean? Like, and again, we're not talking about a 38-year-old that can't run anymore. We're talking about, a middle of the road, and it doesn't have to be a cap breaker, a world breaker. But I mean, imagine on the offensive line if you had Drew Dahlman out there at center, right? That would have been, way different, right, on how you handled stuff. So yeah, Packer Doug said, anyone notice Savage getting cooked for a tutter last night and he never saw the field again? That's another kind of mistake, in my opinion, that Goody made. You guys remember they drafted Darnell Savage. It never worked out. They picked up his fifth-year option, for God's sakes. The year before we signed Xavier McKinney and we drafted Evan Williams and all that, right? The year before that, our safety tandem was Darnell Savage and Jonathan Owens.
Ugh.
Now, again, Joe Barry got raked over the coals like he's a horrible DC, And I'm looking at it going, guys, they are not flying to the ball. Like, they're just literally sitting in space. Like, I promise you, the DC is not telling that player, not telling Savage and Jonathan Owens, hey, listen, guys, no matter what I don't care what the concept is. You make sure you don't move. You just sit right there. Sit right there, little guy. I promise he's not saying that. Now, is he a bad coach? Evidently he is, right? I don't know. Some people were saying, what if he comes back to Green Bay as a linebackers coach, Jacob? Wouldn't that be wild? Hey, and from what I hear, people actually like that. They think Joe Barry is a good linebacker coach. I don't know, but I just think it'd be hilarious if the fire Joe Barry stuff comes back. J Dome says, so what were the excuses last year when we meekly bowed out? I guess you haven't been paying attention, J Dome. They were the youngest roster in the league last year. We did it again. Yeah. If you go back and watch our show coming out of or going into training camp, I remember being live on the show, Jake, and going, well, we're the youngest roster in the league again, boys. I'm tired of having to talk about it because it's like at some point we need to get to a place where it's like, okay, maybe we just try to get a little bit more experience. Just not a lot.
Do you put that on Gutekunst?
You have to. Unless unless Mark Murphy was going, Goody, don't care what you got to do, bro.
Just get him young. Just get him young, baby.
Again, I promise you, Matt LaFleur is not asking for it. The poll question, I promise you, the fan base isn't asking for it. So if you know the head coach doesn't want the youngest, most inexperienced roster in the league, right? And here's what's crazy. I'm not looking at this like this is a huge negative. I'm going, boys, look at what we did with the youngest roster.
Right.
That's why. And you lose Micah Parsons. You lose Devontae Wyatt. You lose Edgerrin Cooper in that second half. You lost Elton Jenkins, your starting center. You didn't have Jaden Reed from week 3 till whenever. You didn't get Christian Watson until November. Yep. Josh Jacobs was hurt the last 6 weeks of the season, and Matt LaFleur still got them in the playoffs, and he had a 21-3 lead at halftime. Again, I'm sorry. There's nobody on the face of the planet that's going to be able to convince me this, excuse my language, this bullshit argument that the Packers offense is the reason the defense struggled is because the defense was gassed. Were they gassed when they gave up a touchdown on the first defensive drive? Were they? Boy, if they were gassed because the Packers went 3 and out after they got to go in the locker room and take a breather, smoke a stogie, and get something to drink, right? Then I'm sorry. You want to talk about BS excuses. That's a BS excuse. It's immediately the focus. And again, it's a very minute amount of the fan base. It's very, very loud. All the poll questions have proved it. They immediately go to, how can we pin this on Matt LaFleur? You know what it was last year, boys? Let's go back 2 years ago. You know what it was 2 years ago? How can we pin this on Joe Barry? Yeah. This is Joe Barry's fault. You know what it was this year all season long? It's Rashawn Gary's fault. Rashawn Gary isn't playing hard. Rashawn Gary's trash. Rashawn Gary, although he led the defensive edge room in every percentage, every statistical category other than Micah Parsons being an absolute beast, right? And again, it doesn't mean that Rashawn Gary should be back at $28 million. It doesn't mean Rashawn Gary is still a great football player. What it means is a very small portion of the fan base wants to find their scapegoat. It's his fault. Keyshawn caught some of that too. Rightfully so when you refuse to tackle a ball carrier at the freaking goal line. I mean, that's just –
you jump out of the way.
Dude, it was horrible. It was embarrassing is what it was.
That's – yeah.
Exactly.
The guy that didn't want to return kicks, remember? Because whatever. Yeah. You know, so that –
I'm CB1. I'm not returning.
Yeah, I'm CB1. I'm not a kick returner. And then
in the meantime, Josh Jacobs' knee looks like a damn balloon, and he said, I want to return kicks. You know what I mean? That's big difference there in leadership, right? Nick McSwain says last year, 2 linemen and 2 wide receivers got hurt in the Eagles game, and Matt LaFleur said 2/3 of the interceptions were receivers running routes incorrectly. Again, anybody who criticizes Jordan Love, 9 times out of 10, their rebuttal is, well, Matt LaFleur talked about the receivers running the wrong routes. Huh. Do you think that's because they're the youngest roster in the league? Yeah. You know what I mean? Who's the most veteran receiver we have on this team? Who is it? It's Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs.
Yeah, it's
now, guess what's going to happen? Romeo Doubs is most likely going to get a better offer in free agency, and the receiver room, by default, will get younger unless you add a veteran. And I'm not saying they should add a veteran receiver. I'm just saying that's the perfect example of how we stay the youngest roster in the league. Again, focus on the most important positions, okay? Tackles, center, quarterback on offense. Make sure that's shored up complete. Quarterback, you're good to go. Right tackle, you're good to go unless you kick Tom to left tackle, then you need a right tackle and vice versa, right? Go get a freaking center. Stop playing games with your Josh Myers. Everybody could see for 4 straight years he is not the dude. And then you go and, okay, now we're going to move our guard to center. All right, we expect him to play great. He didn't play as good as we wanted, although I think he was top 12 in pressures allowed according to PFF. Not horrible. He goes down with an injury. And now that's the other thing people aren't talking about. The final potential game-winning drive, right, that we have an opportunity to go down and beat the Bears, we have Lasita Smith playing center. That's just what do we expect? So, anyway, man, I didn't plan on going this long and talking about all of this, but here we are. My goodness. Let's hit the super chat real quick. Watching that game last night, thank God we lost last week because we would have been embarrassed on national TV by Seattle. That D is no joke. Thank you for the super chat, Mike Witt. Jacob, I said this after the Bears game, coming out of that game. I think I said it on the post-game show. I remember thinking, boy, even if we pull this off against the Bears, this team is not ready to compete with Seattle. It's not ready to compete with Denver. I mean, we competed with Denver when we had Micah and everybody was healthy, but not this. The roster is just too depleted with injuries. It just is, man. So anything you want to add to that before we move along here?
Yeah, I mean, that was tough. It's, I woke up literally right before I saw your text. My buddy Tony called me and he's like, what would you rather had? Would you rather have the loss that we had that was like, that quick kind of slit your throat type loss, or the one that's just a slow torture death? And I'm like, man, because what was it, like 41-6 or something like that? Like, it was unreal. I mean, it's like, would you rather just get like the Chinese torture, the raindrops on your head slowly, or would you rather just have it like, just lights out kind of thing? And it kind of did make me think about it. I'm like, geez, that would have been tough. I don't know what it's like to be a 49ers fan. I never will, thank God. But it's an interesting theory to think about. And yeah, that D is no joke. I mean, Seattle, you get that number 1 ranking for a reason. Like you said, Denver just barely squeaked it out at the end there. And I don't know what to think, man. What would you rather have?
Yeah, for me, it's like you get to a point in the season where it's okay. Do you have a chance to win the whole thing or not? And if you watch this show, I want to say it was like week 16 or 17. I said, boys, we're running out of gas. Like, yeah. This just ain't going. Listen, I don't want to say never. Anything can happen. It's the National Football League, but you get to the point where it's like, do we really expect? I mean, let me give you an example. This is a perfect segue. Thank you for that super chat, Mike, for that question. The Packers gave up 25 fourth quarter points in the wild card round. Yeah. Here were those players. Boy, I'm bad at spelling too. It was supposed to be a PER. Were those players most snaps at each position and where they were drafted? Okay, defensive tackle, 3-tech, the most important position, right? So both the nose and the 3-tech, 4th rounder, 6th rounder. Okay, keep in mind, we've got the youngest roster in the league when all of our veterans were healthy. So we damn sure had the youngest roster in the league after all those veterans got, banged up. Your Micah Parsons, your Elton Jenkins, all those, right? Defensive tackle, 4th rounder, 6th rounder. Edge room, 5th rounder, 1st rounder. You think, okay, that 1st rounder is Gary. No. LVN actually outsnapped Gary in that game, by the way. Okay, so 5th rounder at edge was Enigbare. Okay, so Enigbare, 5th rounder, and Lucas Van Ness, 1st rounder. Okay, so there's your first rounder on the defense. Linebacker, Quay Walker, 1st round pick. Adrian Cooper, 2nd round pick. Keep in mind he left in the second half, so that's when everything fell apart. So I actually got this wrong. Well, I didn't specify 4th quarter, but in the 4th quarter, it actually wouldn't have been a 2nd rounder. It would have been a 3rd rounder in Tyron Hopper, along with Isaiah McDuffie in the 6th round. So it should have been 1, 3, 6. Okay. Cornerback, undrafted free agent, and a 7th round pick. Nickelback, 2nd round pick. Not Jacob's favorite band, but Nickelback, the slot corner.
Nickelback slaps, bro. All right.
It does. Javon Bullard, 2nd round pick. All right. And then at safety, Xavier McKinney was a 2nd round pick. Evan Williams was a 4th round pick. So this idea that this defense is just littered with 1st round picks, that was the defense that was on the field for the Packers when they gave up 25 4th quarter points. 4th rounder and 6th rounder at the most important position, 3-tech, 5th rounder and 1st rounder starting at the most important position at edge, right? Tier 1, they're equally important. Stack backer, tier 2 position, first rounder, third rounder in the obviously in the fourth quarter, in the fourth quarter, and then a sixth rounder if you go to your base 4-3, cornerbacks, undrafted free agent, 7th round pick, nickelback 2nd round, safety 2nd round, and obviously Evan Williams 4th rounder. Evan Williams is a great football player. I'm just simply pointing out this idea that Goody has constructed this defensive roster that's just loaded with first round talent. They weren't on the damn field. Right. And it kind of is what it is there. Now, I want to give a shout out to 2-0 for this. You see this picture I chose, right? Look at this picture right here. You see this picture? Okay. Look, he says this picture looks like a Scooby-Doo scene. This picture looks like a Scooby-Doo scene, right? And it really does, man. He nailed that. Well, 2-0 for this. Shout out to you in the chat, man. I know you're in here, dude. God, it's hilarious, dude. Hilarious. All right, so just wanted to point that out. That's how the roster is kind of constructed there. So you want to know why you gave up 25 fourth quarter points. You had the youngest roster in the league, and you were limping in. Like, it should have been a first rounder at 3 Tech and Devontae Wyatt, but he's hurt, right? You should have had another first rounder in Micah Parsons playing edge. That should have said round one at the edge position. So when you look at Goody, you can't criticize him too hard. These guys just got hurt. You can't control whether they get hurt or not. Now, is there something to be said for how we're drafting players? Micah, obviously, we didn't draft. We traded for. He stayed somewhat healthy his entire career. So just one of those things, man. They ran out of gas. So now, Christian Watson's dad kind of chimed in, and this is what I want to talk about McCole Hardman. Again, we cut McCole Hardman in training camp, and evidently he had a game last night. I didn't notice specifically. You guys let me know in the chat what it was he did. I don't know if he had a return for a touchdown or caught a touchdown. I think he scored a touchdown. He said not having McCole Hardman at least be our returner was simply inexplicable, okay, with an angry emoji. And Jacob, I could not agree more. We were excited about that, right? We were shocked. We thought he was going to make the cut. Like, you're getting this guy on a minimum contract. He caught the game-winning catch in the Super Bowl. He's an athletic freak. He can return kicks. He can take the top off when you need him to. I remember when we signed him, everybody was excited. I remember Ryan's pod. He was excited about it. It's like, man, this guy may be a difference maker. And then we get the final cuts in camp, and Goody cuts his ass. Yeah. It's like, and again, him and LaFleur probably worked together on that, not to give LaFleur a complete pass. Maybe he said, no, I would rather have this guy than that guy. But it does, to me, kind of feel like we chose Bo Melton over McCole Hardman. You know what I mean? That's what I feel.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I love Christian's dad. You know, there's a lot of stuff that probably is controversial that he texts out, and
he'll let you know how he feels.
He'll let you know how he feels. I completely agree. Honestly, with that sentiment, though, is because like we said earlier, you need some leadership, somebody that's been there before, and obviously like a guy that, you know, what if I feel like if we watch back at the tape of this year, I mean, the return game was just pathetic. It was just pathetic. And if you want to put that on Bisaccia's feet, then okay, but like, what has he got? You know, you can't make chicken. I won't even say it, you know what I'm saying? Like, right, yeah. You can't ask for more than what you have of their capabilities and just expect to be the coaches, to be the guys that are like, oh, we're just going to make this, we're going to just manufacture somebody that's a great returner out of our roster just because. And that's just an odd situation to try to put a coach in, to be like, we're just gonna make Bo Melton or enter whatever returner is in at that single moment, and you know, and it goes back again to like, okay, well, so why wasn't Nixon, if he's the best returner in the league, quote unquote, that he was, you know, that one year, why isn't he back there? Why isn't he helping the team? Why is he jumping out of the way of a freaking touchdown saving tackle? Because he's not a team guy. And if you had a guy like McCole, who's been there, has been in Super Bowl snaps, literally won this freaking Super Bowl before, I agree with Zim. I do. I have to, man. It's just it's ridiculous that we did not put ourselves in a better position, in my opinion, to win these games. And it's tough. And then you go ahead and, like you said, you watch him perform in the playoffs again last night, and you're like, well, all right, there he is. That's playoff stock, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to look something up real quick because someone has a comment there I marked in the chat talking about we played Bo Melton over Matthew Golden all year long. And I know it feels like that, guys, but it's not true. I can't find the snap count now. Rob had tweeted out. Rob had tweeted it out. I could probably find it on my profile. I shouldn't do this live on the show.
It's not true.
Right.
But it feels that way. And honestly, the fact that it felt that way, and honestly, watching Matthew Golden, the way that he took that ball and he scored, it does give you that kind of sour taste in your mouth, because it's like, why didn't we do more of this? Why didn't we force the ball into that man's hands? Because you see, when he catches that thing, dude, he had no. I mean, that was a dirty run. That guy was dodging and dipping and ducking, and I mean, he looked good when he had the ball in his hands. It's like, why didn't we do that more? That's an easy way to kind of.
Yeah, and we need to do a deep dive into the tape and see exactly how they deployed him, because I do disagree with that take. Now, whoever said that just now, again, not trying to pile on, not trying to dunk on you. I want to almost agree with you, because it kind of felt like that at times. The reason it felt like that's because the ball went to him in crucial moments, right?
Right.
Now, think about that 4th down drop. Think about the 3rd down drops that Bo Melton had. And I think the reality, you guys fact check it yourself. I want to say Bo Melton had 90 offensive snaps and Matthew Golden had over 400. So it wasn't even close, right? We didn't choose him over it. Now, those specific games, was Matthew Golden hurt, and it came down to that? The point that Christian Watson's dad was making, I feel like, is not specifically, but it's the first thing I thought of when I read his comment about Mecole Hardman. Imagine the guy who was clutch enough to make the game-winning Super Bowl touchdown catch on 4th down or 3rd down, making those catches instead of Bo Melton. Again, we chose to go younger rather than keep Mecole Hardman on the roster. And I know there's some people who's going to take this like, oh, now the talk is Mecole Hardman's the reason we didn't make the Super Bowl. No, you're being hyperbolic. You're being condescending, and you're trying to stretch what we're saying into something else. Nobody's saying that we would have won the Super Bowl with Mecole Hardman. I'm simply pointing out Christian's dad making a factual statement that, damn, really, our roster was too good to keep this guy.
Yeah. Well, and if you remember, gosh, I can't remember. It's driving me crazy. The kind of 5 or 6 receiver that was absolutely just a beast that we loved at the beginning of the year. Who was it? We lost him throughout the year.
I feel like there was
gosh darn it. If you in the chat, could you please help me out with the gosh, how come I cannot remember his name right now? Just an absolute guy that blocked him in the next week. Gosh, what was it? Malik Heath. Yeah, we all loved Malik Heath so much, to the point where, like, if you would have probably asked me at that point, I would have said, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Creed. Malik Heath, I probably would have said, I want him over a guy like Mecole Hardman. And now when you look back, hindsight's 2020, and you understand that, like, gosh darn, it's McSwain says.
Here's the thing with Malik Heath is something happened too, Jacob. Remember, something happened and he didn't get to travel with the team. There was some kind of disciplinary action. Now, I know I shouldn't even say his name because maybe he don't want me to say it, so I won't. Someone said they ran into Malik Heath, and this is a reliable source. He wouldn't lie about this. He actually covers the team. And that he talked to Malik Heath, and it got brought up that he got a speeding ticket, but he said, I didn't get confirmation that's why he didn't get to travel with the team, but something happened that was disciplinary. Now, keep in mind, you go back to Malik Heath's first training camp. He was a stud going into college. He was a stud for a good portion of his career in college. I remember correctly, he got 1 or 2 DUIs while he was in college, and that's why his draft stock fell. So the Packers bring him in as an undrafted free agent. Matt LaFleur rolled his ass in camp. That I remember reporters, when we get our training camp coverage, they were tweeting out, Matt LaFleur is all over Malik Heath. Like, he was on him big time, right? So you could tell Matt was trying to get the best out of him, and, evidently he did something to screw that up. It sounds like why he's gone, Jacob. Just to not make an excuse, but I think it is important to mention that.
No, that's a great point.
Mike Witt with the super chat says, now that the LaFleur drama is over, who is your preferred picks for DC? Whoever it is, I want some nasty from this defense next year. Just my opinion. We need more intensity from the defense. That's the one thing that Hafley did not bring to the table, right? Hafley wasn't he looked like he would get the guys fired up, but boy, intellectual. You know what I mean? He knows how to design a defense, although they gave up a lot of points down the stretch. We're going to talk about a potential candidate and some rumors that might be swirling, and I think you guys will be excited about it with a lot of Wisconsin Badger fans in here. So thank you so much for the super chat, Mike. Last thing here, and we got to move on. We're way behind. Bottom line, Brian Gutekunst took 3 swings in the right direction by signing Micah Parsons, which was a huge success for he and the Packers. Swings 2 and 3 as of right now seem like huge whiffs, with the addition of Aaron Banks over adding Drew Dahlman and signing Nate Hobbs, attempting to upgrade the cornerback room. Whether they pan out in year 2 or not, you need to take 2 more swings this offseason, especially without having a first-round pick. And especially if you decide to move on from Elton Jenkins, you don't want your roster is going to get even younger if you move on from Elton and don't replace him. Please don't just say, yeah, we're going to move on from Elton. We'll draft a second and third round offensive lineman and we'll try to work them into the starting rotation. That's not going to get you where you need to be. You're going to need to go out and try to find a veteran to help shore up that offensive line, in my opinion. Somebody like a Drew Dahlman, someone like a Joe Tooney. Whether you could afford Joe Tooney or not, I don't know. We'll get into the cap ramifications here soon. But there it is. Thank you, Cheo. Cheo Walker says, Golden 452 snaps, Melton's 96 snaps throughout the season. So thank you so much for bringing that up. You see what I'm saying, Jacob? It feels like, oh, man, we use Bo Melton way more than Golden. That is not true. That's not true.
Yeah. What do you think about Turt L. McGirtz?
He was second among wide receivers in targets, too, Matthew.
Right. Yes,
so what'd you say, Jacob?
Turt L. McGirt has a comment saying, who says Dahlman even wanted to come here? I don't think that matters, whether or not he wanted. Like, if the money's right, you're going to go where you're going to go.
Like you could say that for anybody. It's literally, it's about money. Like, so you're saying that he wanted to go to Chicago instead of Green Bay? Well, who's to say that you're right in that? And I don't mean to sound kind of aggressive there, but that whole thing is that's just like the comment that I was talking about Matt LaFleur. Well, who's to say Matt doesn't want the youngest roster? If you had offered Drew Dahlman more guaranteed money than Chicago did, Drew Dahlman would be a Green Bay Packer. So you're saying that he has some kind of personal vendetta that Dahlman didn't want to come to Green Bay? Like, that seems like a stretch for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but
anyway, you guys say like Rizzy. I mean, that's not a great follow up either, buddy. Because
that's an interesting conversation. Again, I don't want to get back into the Rizzy talk because like the whole Darren Rizzy wasn't coming here. Darren Rizzy didn't.
You don't want to shovel snow. I'm going to Denver.
What? Yeah, obviously the snow wasn't a huge factor. They did think it's forward with the New Orleans Saints at the time, but again. If you offer these guys the most money, they're going to come here. It does come down to dollars a cent. There comes a point where it's like, okay, maybe I do want to do that, So anyway, if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments what you think about the whole Brian Gutekunst, the restructure of the front office. How do you feel like Goody performed last year? Let us know if you think he needs to press in and get more veterans on the team. Make sure you hit us up in the comments on that. Hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you know when we go live in the future. Now, let's talk a little defensive coordinator, Jacob. As you know, it sounds like we're inching closer to Jeff Hafley being gone in Green Bay, right? He's probably going to get the Miami Dolphins job. All the betting odds are through the roof. They have been from day one for John Eric Sullivan, who left the Green Bay Packers front office to hire Jeff Hafley from Green Bay as his new head coach. There'll also be some other assistants who'll probably go with him. So this really kind of got interesting to me last night. You know who Ed Werder is? Covers the NFL for ESPN. You remember him? He's been an insider for quite some time, right?
Yep.
He mentioned a name last night, or at least he sent a quote tweet out, and it kind of got me going, does Ed know something we don't know? And Wisconsin Badger fans get excited, okay? It said, could Jim Leonhard be the Packers' next defensive coordinator is what we put here on Patreon. You guys know he is the secondaries coach in Denver that has an awesome defense this year as well, right? Ed Werder tweeted out, Packers could be contenders for former Wisconsin DC Jim Leonhard if current Green Bay DC Jeff Hafley is hired as head coach. And he had quote tweeted Parker Gabriel, perhaps worth noting that the Broncos secondary coach Jim Leonhard turned down the Packers DC job under Matt LaFleur in 2021 because he figured at the time he'd be at Wisconsin for the long haul. Now, pause, timeout. Some rumors were suggesting that Mike Pettin, who was real close to Jim Leonhard, had told him, don't take the job with LaFleur because Mike Pettin and Matt LaFleur had a falling out as the defensive coordinator. Remember when they fired Mike Pettin, right? And he went to Minnesota to try to stick it to us. And I think he finally hung it up this year. Sorry it didn't work out there, bub. That's what happens when you go to the purple team up there. Yeah. But this was interesting because this tweet by Parker Gabriel kind of suggests, Jacob, that he just thought he was going to be in Wisconsin for the long haul. That's the reason he turned it down. It had nothing to do with maybe Mike Pettin being in his ear. With that being the case, if that was one of Matt LaFleur's top, obviously it was a top candidate. He offered it to him. It sounds like, I don't think he just turned down an interview. I think he offered it to him and he turned it down. Could Jim Leonhard be the next defensive coordinator in Green Bay? And I know you're a Wisconsin Badger fan. Listen, I've pushed back on this a little bit. I didn't think it was going to happen the first time. I ended up being right, but I pushed back and saying, like, guys, I understand he was a Wisconsin Badger. That's why you want him here. But this kind of feels like this has a little bit better chance of forming, you know? And I think anytime you can get somebody that the fans will love and a former Badger, he played for the Badgers, he coached for the Badgers, right? This would be exciting stuff here with Jim Leonhard potentially being the DC. Again, throw him in the group of other potential candidates. How would you feel about him being the DC? I'll try to pull up the defensive stats and let you know where they rank this year.
I mean, I'd love it personally. Being a Badger fan is tough because they sort of kind of pull the rug from you every single year. You start out strong, and then all of a sudden, something happens, and it's being in the Big Ten, it's tough, man. We got a lot of powerhouses that we have to play against, but Jim Leonhard always put together an absolute stud defense. He just does. And can that transfer to the NFL level? Obviously, he's over there doing the secondaries coach, like you said, in Denver. But like, you got to be kidding me, says Leonhard wanted to be a head coach at Wisconsin. I don't know if that's exactly true, if that's what he, the reason why he ended up leaving. But it'd be, I think it'd be great. You have, like you said, a guy that just is from Wisconsin, understands the dynamic, understands what that means to that this group of fans. I mean, football is all we got up here, man. It really is. We got the Brewers, we got the Bucks. Yeah, sure. We don't have a hockey team, but football is in our blood in Wisconsin. It's just something different. It's what we lean on. And when it doesn't work out, I mean, yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah. 2-0 for this says, what if Jeff Hafley by some miracle pulls a Ben Johnson in Detroit and sees the potential of the defense and stays? And again, that's not off the table, right? 2-0 for this. It's trending toward him being the head coach of Miami, but it was trending heavy for Ben Johnson to leave. And you guys remember he decided to come back with Detroit, give it one more run as their OC. So really, really interesting there. Mark in the chat here. Good to see you, buddy. Says Jim Leonhard coached the #1 defense in the nation. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's talk about his history here a little bit, Jacob. So I just had AI pull it. And if there's any mistakes here that AI got, let me know in the chat. You guys correct it as we go. Jim Leonhard has transitioned from a standout 10-year NFL vet playing career to becoming one of the most respected defensive minds in both college and professional football. Below is the complete list of his coaching history. So he started in 2016 with the University of Wisconsin as a defensive backs coach. And then the next year, for the next 3 years, he was promoted to defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach, then defensive coordinator and safeties coach. So he was a DC from 2017 through 2022, it looks like. He was the interim head coach in 2022. Last 7 games, and they had a 4-3 record in that time. Then he went to the University of Illinois as a senior football analyst, right? Then he goes to the Denver Broncos, back to the NFL, defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator. This year, assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator. So here's the other thing. Their DC up there, I'm trying to think of his name. Help me out. Is it Vance Joseph? I think it's Vance Joseph.
Yeah.
So if Vance Joseph gets a head coaching job, they will most likely promote Jim Leonhard to DC. So that would block us from being able to get him. Just want to put that out there before somebody mentions it. Now, how good has Denver's defense been this year? Passing defense, Jacob. Yards per pass attempt allowed. They're second best at 5.5. Guess who's number 1? Seattle. We seen that Seattle defense last night. They were buzzing, right? So as good as Seattle's pass defense looked last night against the Niners, where they just took belt to ass, they are 1/10 away from Denver. And again, passing game coordinator, that was Jim Leonhard. So this would be a good hire, man. I really like this. Yeah. That's kind of his history. Now, key coaching achievements was NFL success in his first season with the Broncos. He coached cornerback Pat Surtain to an AP Defensive Player of the Year award. So he was working hand in hand with Patrick Surtain. Obviously, he's the guy who got the interception on Christian Watson in that game that completely changed the tide there. Wisconsin defense during his tenure as defensive coordinator. Wisconsin consistently ranked in the top 5 nationally for total defense scoring defense awards. He was a finalist for the Broyles Award, the nation's top assistant coach in 2017, his first year as the coordinator. Interim record as the interim head coach. Obviously, he had a 4-3 record to secure bowl eligibility. So a little bit of clutch head coaching there down the stretch. So to me, man, this skyrockets toward the top. And we talked about this a little bit last night. You and I did with some of the potential lead candidates. Jim Leonard, right? Zach Orr with the Ravens. That's probably my least favorite of these. DeMarcus Covington in-house if you want to keep everything intact and just promote your defensive line coach and run game coordinator to your DC. Bonda, the safeties coach with the Browns, is another young and up-and-comer. Chris Harris, who interviewed for the DC last time when we chose Jeff Hafley, he's the Jets DB coach and interim DC. That one takes a back burner to me. I'm not as interested in him. He may get an interview or two. Maybe he'll get a first or a second look from Matt. I'm not as impressed with that because the Jets defense was horrible. Now, they did trade the key players away. That's going to play into it. And then you've got Aroha, if I'm saying that right, or Araho maybe, the Dolphins cornerback coach. So for me, if I had to choose out of these based off what we've talked about here, my top choices would definitely be Jim Leonard and DeMarcus Covington out of that list. I'm kind of leaning toward Leonard, Jacob, over Covington. I don't know how you feel, man.
Yeah, I honestly do agree with that. Nick Biswain says, please, no inside hire. I kind of agree with that sentiment just because you need to bring in, I feel like, a little new blood to shake things up and just maybe give a little more inspiration, It just feels like that whatever we've been doing lately isn't working. Even, like we talked about it, man, the Hafley thing, it was so good on paper. And then when Micah was firing, we all thought that, man, this defense looks different. By the end of the year, he had a worse defense than Barry. Have you seen the stats where they compare him? Like Barry had better numbers, which is crazy. And so, yeah, I do like the idea of the Jim Leonard. I think that would be, great. I really do.
Yeah. Again, what it comes down to here, if it's between DeMarcus Covington and Jim Leonard, a perfect scenario for me would be DeMarcus Covington doesn't get offered a DC job somewhere else. I don't know if that'll happen. He interviewed in Dallas. Obviously, Jeff Hafley would be very interested in taking him with him to Miami if he gets that job. But if you can keep him your defensive line coach and bring in Jim Leonard as your new DC, to me, that's like a perfect scenario, right? If you could keep him and keep Ansley on as well. Now, Romero Hill asked a question, fellas, is Leonard, if Leonard was to become our DC, can he bring some Denver coaches with him? He can, but obviously you got to let people go. Now, that's going to happen by default. There's going to be a void created in the coaching staff because Hafley's going to want to take guys with him. I imagine he'll take Coach Ogabasi with him. He was with him at BC. He's here in Green Bay with him. I can see him taking him. He'll probably take either DeMarcus Covington or Derek Ansley as his DC. So that's going to free up a spot there as well. So you got to answer your question. If Leonard were to become the DC, he would definitely bring coaches with him from Denver. Now the question becomes, of the coaches that stay, for example, if DeMarcus Covington doesn't get a DC job, let's say that Hafley goes with Covington, right? Or not Covington, he goes with Ansley and takes him as his DC. Let's say that happens. If that happens, then there's a chance that if you hire Jim Leonard or anyone outside, they could come in and go, we don't want Covington. Now, if they bounce that off Matt LaFleur, and they have to because Matt LaFleur would be their boss. Now, in the negotiation, a DC may say, hey, the only request I've got other than the money that we've agreed on is I get total say in my defensive staff. That's a real thing. Matt may grant them that. There's a chance that Covington could get scrapped if you go with someone like Leonard or Zach Orr or someone else. And I want to be clear here, Jacob. Zach Orr was one of my top candidates going into the last hire. I really like Zach Orr, right? He's young. He's only 33 years old, one of the youngest coordinators. But their defense got their ass kicked in Baltimore this year. So that was his first experience as DC, and they ranked in the bottom half of the league in pretty much every important statistical category. So it's like, I don't know if I feel as excited about him. That's why I lean toward Leonard and DeMarcus Covington. And then also, we'll get your take on this one more time. Raheem Morris is another one we talked about last night. That's another top candidate. So I would go, let's say Hafley's gone and Covington is obviously a choice. Ansley's a choice. My top choice would be Covington. It would be between Covington, Raheem Morris, and Jim Leonard. Those would be my top three, to be honest with you. How do you feel about it, Jake?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, like, I don't know if there's a situation where B-Flow is available, but that would be another interesting prospect. Don't necessarily agree with the guy on some of the stuff he's done in his past, but he seems to be able to just, look at that Vikings defense. There's not a lot of, I don't want to say not a lot of talent, but like not a lot of names that would pop off the list, you know what I mean? But somehow he seemed to get the best play out of them, and it seems like he's done that wherever he went. Seems like a no-nonsense kind of coach. I feel like that's kind of what we need. Hafley was great. I love the way that he was kind of like a a motivator, a teacher, if you will, more of a, kind of like a mentor, more than like a kind of shove it down your throat type coach. I think that we maybe need that. I think we need a little more grit coming back to Green Bay. I think that we need just, we're playing on the frozen tundra, man. We don't need sissies. We don't need babies. We don't need guys that are trying to mold, man. We need freaking coaches that will coach you into the dirt. And if you're not willing to stick up and make these plays, if you're going to Keyshawn Nixon it and jump out of the way to save whatever you want to save, whether it's your body, your reputation, whatever the frick you think you're doing there, that player never sees the field again. That's what I want from our defense. I want a hard-nosed, tough SOB that's going to go in there and start making, actual decisions that are going to make sure that everybody else on that roster knows that if you want to play on this team, you come in with your head down, and if not, you're not going to play. Like, that's what I want.
I think we would all agree too that one of the another byproduct, or a positive, I should say, that if the Packers were to get Brian Flores, and again, Flores would be my top choice. Let me be very vocal. I'm just assuming he's going to get a head coaching job. He's had 3 interviews. Actually, there's 3 different teams that he's the odds-on betting favorite to get the head coaching job. So chances are one of those 3, he will be the head coach. But if he's available, he would be my top choice, no doubt. But also, if you get an opportunity to weaken the Minnesota Vikings, because we know they want him back, right?
Oh, yeah.
If he doesn't get a head coaching job, they're going to want to try to get him back. Kevin O'Connell loves him. He had a great defense. His defense was actually better than Jeff Hafley's defense this year in rankings, right? Hands down. So if you get an opportunity to outbid them and pay him more money, right, that would be a plus to snatch him away from Minnesota, right? So you don't have to face that again, and you upgrade your defense coordinator position as best you can. Whether there may be some people that think Hafley's a better DC than Flores. I get it. I understand. There's arguments on both sides, right? Like, Flores didn't have Micah Parsons this year. We've seen what Hafley's defense did without Micah Parsons.
Yeah, like Van Ginkel or whatever.
Right. And there's some players on the team that you said it. I'm thinking, who all are on their team? And then I got to thinking, I'm like, I feel like they've got a bunch of very good players, but no great players. You know what I'm saying? So
Jonathan Grenard, Van Ginkel, Harrison Smith, but nobody that pops off the screen.
That's right. He's obviously not the same player, but let's end this with a little. Well, first of all, if you guys are watching that video back later, let us know in the comments. What do you think about Jim Leonhard? I think I know how the majority feels about Jim Leonhard. You would love to have a former Wisconsin Badger be your DC. He's had success everywhere he's gone. The track record checks out everywhere he's gone. And now he's obviously taken Denver's secondary to a whole new level, helping Pat Surtain win that AP Defensive Player of the Year, and obviously the second best passing defense in terms of yards per pass attempt. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. Let's have some fun on the way out, Jacob. You good with that?
Started off with Donovan. Come on, guys. I had the Packers legend Eric Wilson. He got a lot out of Eric Wilson too. Eric Wilson played great.
I guess he did. Yeah. All right, let's have some fun here. So I want to give a shout out to somebody on X. This is Alicia. I hope I'm saying the name right. It's either Alicia or Alicia. I think it's Alicia. Is that how you would say that, Jacob?
I would say Alicia.
Yeah. Anyway, so she put a tweet out, said, all of Dolphins Twitter roasting Hafley for his haircut is sending me. And I'm like, what is she talking about? So I said, I need links, right? So she hit us up with links, right? She said there was a Beavis and Butthead one. I haven't seen that one yet. Right? So look at the Dolphins going off here. Let me see if we'll have to come back. So first of all, it kind of started with this. After many seconds spent research, after many seconds spent researching the best possible candidates for the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, I have eliminated Jeff Hafley for consideration. I just don't like his hair. All right. So that's the first one that got it kicked off. And then she comes back and says, well, I don't know what this one is. I'm a little nervous clicking on it. Is there a picture? There ain't no picture. Okay. So she's just kind of quote tweeting people. Look at this one. Breaking news. I might crash out if we hire this license and registration looking MFer and Jeff Hafley. So they get a Photoshop in the Florida State Troopers uniform, obviously. This next one's probably the best, though, right? And she did not look at this one, Jacob. So this one came in from Joe Robbie, who said, honestly, Hafley might just be the guy that still does not make up for that horrific haircut. If Hafley agrees to go to Miami, to a Miami-based barber moving forward, I'm in. Now, this is that one killed me, right? This one right here, though. Check out. Look at that guy right here, Jacob. You kidding me? There's another look you could have, right?
Oh.
Oh, what about this? Oh, no. That's Mr. Steal Your Girl right there.
Yeah.
And then that one, of course.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Yeah. Is that what a faux hawk is? People tell me I have a faux hawk. Is that how you say it, faux hawk? I don't know. We've always called it as a buzz cut, man. I've got a fat face.
I don't think you quite have a faux hawk. No, it's probably more along the lines of that.
I always tell people, man, I got a fat face. I tell the barber, man, make it look skinny as you can on the sides, please. That's all I tell them, and they do what they got to do. And now Mandy cuts the hair. So, but yeah, this Fabio look got me though, man. That's pretty clean right there.
It's like Trevor Lawrence's dad right there.
So again, I just think it's hilarious that we're over here as Packer fans. You know, we're in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Only thing that matters is football, winning Lombardis, all that, right? And now Jeff Hafley might be the next head coach in Miami. We're begging. We're just hoping, right? She said Murph, Bradley Cooper look-alike for the second photo. Good call, Murph. Good call. We're over here just praying to sweet baby Jesus, Jeff Hafley, somehow, some way stays our defensive coordinator. And Miami's going, I don't like his haircut. I don't know if I want that guy. So, yeah, appreciate what you got with this Packer fan base for sure. And again, shout out to Alicia. Again, I hope I didn't butcher the name, but that popped up on the timeline. I was like, sis, I'm gonna I need some links to this. I got to what you're talking about. She did not disappoint. So make sure y'all go give her a follow over there as well. And tell them PTA sent you. Jacob, you got anything else you want to hit before we wrap up, man?
No, man. I mean, we have almost 1,000 watching live right now. So if you guys could hit that like and subscribe, we're gonna be. Clayton's been doing just the God's work, just going live at any moment's notice if there is some breaking news. So, keep tuned to the channel. If you like this type of content, it's what we do. The off season, I can't reiterate enough, is me and Clayton were talking about it last night after the show. It's probably our favorite time, just because, like you said, there's no stress. We're just talking ball. We're talking prospects. We're talking potentials, right? Everything is hopeful. And if you guys like that type of content, I know there's a few other podcasts that maybe fall off in the off season. We don't. We step it up. We're going to start doing the mock drafts. We're going to start looking at prospects. We're going to get you guys our draft boards. Emilio does a ton of work and trying to get together a lot of stats and projections and everything you could ever imagine under the sun. So just keep tuned, hit that like, hit that subscribe. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be a Packer fan, especially now when there's, like I said, the hopes are sky high. Why not?
Absolutely. And again, we cracked the 1,000 mark just a second ago. So thanks to everybody who joined. Also, we are on the cusp of breaking 8,000 subs, right? We're at 7,991 subs. So if you're watching this and you want to be a part of what we're doing moving forward and you want to bless the show, just hit that sub button for us, man. Get us over 8 grand. Watch time is through the roof. I'm blown away. Over the last 28 days, we've had 263,000 views on the channel. Watch time is way up. So there were actually 34,400 hours watched on the channel in the last 28 days, which is just insane. YouTube's notified me a couple of times like, hey, what you're doing is working great. Your channel's growing like crazy. Subs, we picked up 560 subs over the last month as well. And again, we're just in here talking about what's going on. It has nothing to do with us. We're building a community where Packer fans can come in here and respectfully have a conversation. We had one knucklehead in the chat earlier. I came this close to blocking him because he called somebody dense. Not going to fly in here. We're not in here to insult each other. We're here to have a good time, have a good laugh, talk about what's actually happening, break down the tape, learn football together. I'm not teaching football. We're all coming together and learning about the Packers and the game of football, and specifically the National Football League. The draft board is going to be awesome. That's over in our Patreon group, an extra perk over there, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. But again, the only reason the channel is growing is because you guys are in there hanging out in the chat. It's an awesome, awesome community, and we greatly appreciate it. Jake, appreciate you jumping on. We'll be back later. If any news breaks, if we get a DC hire, if we get any interviews, we will go live on the spot, breaking news. I am going to go out at 3 o'clock and watch the Patriots game at a sports bar. So we'll be out of the office, or out of the studio, I should say, around that time. So hopefully, if anything breaks, it breaks before then. But we'll definitely be going live again before 3 o'clock. We'll go in there and definitely talk. So Turk McGirt says, you guys do it right, Clayton and Jacob. Sometimes Tim and Excelio.
Catching strays.
Excelio, man. I love that name stuck. So
yep.
All right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. Let us know in the comments what do you think about everything we covered. And again, just so you guys know, if you sub to the channel, every segment we hit, we had like 4 different segments today. If you're sub to the channel, you'll see that I upload those separately in video form. So you may not have time to tune into a live stream, right? But you can jump in and watch a 15-minute clip on just the Matt LaFleur extension or the Brian Gutekunst breakdown or the Jim Leonard rumors, all that stuff. So we're trying to make it as convenient as possible for everyone. I know y'all got things going on in your life. Everything's busy. That's right.
Packer Doug is asking, hate watch for the Bears game. I think we would generally, but Ryan is doing a live stream, I believe, through his Patreon. So we don't want to, we don't want to try to steal any sort of viewership out of that. So if you guys are interested, check out Ryan's Patreon. He's gonna be doing a hate party. He's gonna hate them just as good as we could, if not better.
Yeah, and what we may do, so we don't, because again, you guys, if you're not a member of Ryan's Patreon group, go check it out, Packernet. If you go to packernet.com, you'll see a link to the Patreon, I'm sure. That's where you can get this podcast too, is if you sub to Packernet podcasts. This is that's the audio form of this show that goes on there. But what we may do, Jacob, is down the stretch in like the 4th quarter, we may go live or something. You know what I mean? You kind of round it out that way. But I'm going to try to hop in there with Ryan here in a little bit too and watch his stream, man, because it's always a blast anytime he does anything live. So thanks for mentioning that for sure. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. Thank you all so much. Let me just check, make sure we didn't get a flurry there real quick. Yeah, we just picked up 4 more. We're at 7,995 subs. Jeez. Now, I'm sure by the time everybody watches this, we'll be over 8. I'll throw a Twitter post out when we hit 8,000 subs and thank everybody. And we'll celebrate together. So we'll be live again before 3 o'clock. I promise you that. Might be closer to the 1 o'clock range. Hopefully some news will break. If not, we'll break down some more of these free agents, potential cuts, restructures. We talked about Rashawn Gary pretty extensively. We'll dive into Aaron Banks, do a quick breakdown of whether or not we should keep him at the 24.8 or just free up $4 million and move on. So we'll do that here in a little bit. Appreciate everybody. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. This show sucks, says Donovan Schilling.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.